What is up, everybody? Welcome back to Get a Grip Sports Football. Today I will be doing my 2021 NFL Mock Draft 1.0. So let's get started here. We have the Jacksonville Jaguars. This is a very easy pick. They're going to take Trevor Lawrence. He is the best player in the draft. Wonderful quarterback. Next up for the Jets, I'm not doing any trades this draft, even though the trade button is right there. We have the team needs right here, which is very helpful. They definitely need a quarterback, but I do also think that they could keep Sam Darnold at quarterback and watch him develop. I also think that Zach Wilson is and did play better this past season, and I think that they're going to take Zach Wilson. For the Miami Dolphins, they need a playmaker, but they also need to protect Tua, and Penny Sewell is one of the best offensive lineman I have seen as a prospect in many years. So I am going to go with Jamar Chase, though, because they need a dynamic playmaker, and Jamar Chase fits that bill perfectly. For the Atlanta Falcons, I think they need a quarterback, and Justin Fields doesn't really fit their system, but they can adjust. Bengals, they also need a dynamic playmaker, but offensive lineman is too good to pass up Penny Sewell here. Philadelphia Eagles, I think Kyle Pitts could definitely be a great replacement for Zach Ertz. I also think that Dallas Goedert, though he is injury prone, he can be a deadly tight end. So I think they are going to pass on Kyle Pitts and not take Jalen Waddle because injury concerns with his hip and all of that. They'll take the Heisman winner, Devonta Smith. Detroit Lions, yes, they're going to have like an entirely new wide receiver core. They could also use a cornerback, but Jalen Waddle is a crazy good wide receiver. He'd be hard to pass up. Teddy Bridgewater, I think his days are numbered. Trey Lance fits the offense perfectly. I think he's going to the Panthers. The Denver Broncos, they need literally everything on defense. Cornerback and edge are the most important things they need to take care of. And I think that Patrick Surtain is the best cornerback in the draft, and I think that the Broncos should take him. Offensive tackle and cornerback for the Dallas Cowboys, we have Rashawn Slater and Samuel Cosmi. Can't forget about Christian Darrisaw down there too. But Caleb Farley is an amazing cornerback. He's going to be hard to pass up. I think they got to go with the best available defensive player here. The New York Giants, they need a wide receiver and an edge. Now, the best wide receivers aren't available anymore on the edges. There aren't a lot of great edges in this draft. However, Evan Ingram, his days are numbered with the Giants, and I think he needs to be replaced as soon as possible. And Kyle Pitts is wonderful, so I think the Giants get a great player here. The San Francisco 49ers, they could take Mac Jones here. I could also see the New England Patriots trading up to the 11th pick to make sure that the Niners don't take a quarterback, and they would take Mac Jones. There's been some speculation over Mac Jones for having one good season, but that season was at Alabama. That season won a national championship, and Zach Wilson only had one good season too, so it's hard to make that point for Mac Jones. And San Francisco 49ers need a cornerback or a guard/center. Now, the best cornerbacks have been taken, Patrick Surtain and Caleb Farley. There aren't a lot of great offensive guards or centers, so I think they might have to settle for one of the offensive linemen and move a guard to center. And I think that's where Rashawn Slater comes in. Wonderful offensive tackle, obviously not the best because Penny Sewell is a beast, but Rashawn Slater is definitely a valuable prospect. And the Chargers need somebody on the offensive line. Samuel Cosmi is still available. He's a very powerful offensive lineman. Chargers love that kind of guy. I think they're going to take him. Now, the Minnesota Vikings either need a guard or a defensive tackle. Unfortunately, there are not a lot of good ones. They might have to settle for Elijah Vera Tucker because safeties are even more limited. so I think they will go with Elijah Vera Tucker. New England Patriots, lots of mock drafts have had them taking either a quarterback here or taking Kyle Pitts. Kyle Pitts is unfortunately gone. Mac Jones definitely is great for their offense, and I wouldn't be surprised if they take him. There aren't a lot of great wide receivers here either, so I think they will take Mac Jones. Arizona Cardinals, they need a cornerback or a running back. I think that they need a cornerback a lot more because they have Kenyon Drake, who I think is very underrated. But it is going to be hard to pass up either Najee Harris or Travis Etienne. But J.C. Horn, wonderful playmaker. I think he goes to the Cardinals. Las Vegas Raiders need an edge, or they need anybody on the defensive line. And Kwity Paye, I probably said that name wrong, is a wonderful prospect out of Michigan. He's the best defensive end in the draft, and I think that he's going to be taken by the Raiders. The Miami Dolphins already took a wide receiver earlier this round. They need an offensive tackle or a linebacker now, and those are the two best prospects available. I think that Micah Parsons, despite sitting out this year due to COVID, is one of the best players in the draft. He had a phenomenal 2019 season. I think he goes to the Dolphins. Now, Washington football team just released Alex Smith recently. They don't really have a franchise quarterback. I mean, maybe Taylor Heineke, but probably not. They could take Kyle Trask here. Kellen Mond is hugely underrated, but they got it. They got to take what's handed to them, and Christian Darrisaw just fell into their laps. Another quarterback needing team, another offensive line needing team, and Taven Jenkins is a wonderful player for that position. Now, the Colts need a cornerback or an offensive lineman. Unfortunately, the best players have been taken from those positions, and it's going to be a long time until we find another one. Jalen Mayfield is the next best available. They also need a wide receiver and Rashad Bateman because they have the dynamic playmaker of T.Y. Hilton, but they don't have the big man who can go up for jump balls, and that's what Rashad Bateman is. I think he goes to the Colts. Tennessee Titans need anybody on the defensive line. Jalen Phillips or Christian Barmore are what they definitely have to look at if they're thinking realistically. And I think Jalen Phillips is the best player over the Alabama prospect. The Jets already got their quarterback. Now they need a playmaker or a cornerback. Terrace Marshall Jr., wonderful wide receiver. Cornerbacks, there are not a lot in this draft, and the best have already been taken. So I think they go with one of the best wide receivers in this draft. The Pittsburgh Steelers, Big Ben Roethlisberger, dropped his contract. I'm so glad about that. Maybe we can keep Bud Dupree now. We need an offensive tackle or a cornerback, and that is super true. Unfortunately, there are not a lot of those left. Jalen Mayfield, we might have to settle for him. We could also take a running back here, and I mean, I'd love to have Najee Harris or Travis Etienne on my team. I'd probably rather have Travis Etienne, but I think the realistical choice would be Najee Harris. Trevor Lawrence, he needs somebody to protect him, but there aren't a lot of good offensive linemen in this draft, and the best have already been taken. Cornerbacks have also been taken. There aren't any good tight ends in this draft besides Kyle Pitts, so I think they go with Jalen Mayfield here. The Cleveland Browns needs a defensive end or a cornerback, and there's lots of defensive ends lower in the draft, not top 10 prospects, but like top 20 prospects. And I think Gregory, I can't pronounce his last name, phenomenal prospect, very underrated. I think he's going to have a great NFL career. He goes to the Browns, unfortunately. Ravens need a defensive end or a tight end. A defensive end, another great defensive end, Azeez Ojulari from Georgia. Another wonderful prospect. He's from the SEC, so I think that's the closest to the NFL you can get in college football. You play opponents like Alabama and LSU, and they were good. The New Orleans Saints need a cornerback or a defensive end. Unfortunately, those best ones have been taken. They could use another wide receiver for their new quarterback. and I think Kadarius Toney, he's popped up recently. He was overshadowed by Kyle Pitts this season. Definitely going to go with him. The Green Bay Packers, will they take an offensive lineman and pass on another wide receiver? I think they will. Liam Eichenberg from Notre Dame, wonderful prospect. He's huge. He is absolutely phenomenal. He can toss around any Big Ten opponent. We'll see what he can do in the NFL. There are tons of linebackers, not a lot of linebacker needing teams, but the Buffalo Bills are one of those linebacker needing teams. They could go with Nick Bolton, Zaven Collins, who is very underrated. He went to a college like Tulsa, so you don't hear his name a lot. But Jeremiah Owusu, I can't pronounce that last one. Crazy good out of Notre Dame. 2 Notre Dame players picked back to back. I can't say enough good things about Jeremiah. I mean, in any other year he'd be a top prospect, but with quarterbacks all up in this draft, and you can't forget about Micah Parsons, it's hard to beat those guys out. Kansas City Chiefs, they don't need, or they could use a wide receiver, but they have Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, McCole Hardman. If he can develop, he's going to be a star. Sammy Watkins is most likely gone. He's going to be asking for a lot more than the Chiefs can give him, but the Chiefs don't have a salary cap, as we've all learned, so they could keep him, they might not. They, however, need a guard, and there aren't a lot of good guards here. There is Dylan Raduns from North Dakota State. I don't think they're going to take him. I do think that they do need a good linebacker, and Zaven Collins definitely fits that bill. Wonderful playmaker out of Tulsa. He got an interception, returned it all the way. I mean, that's just crazy. For a linebacker, you never see that. Final pick of the draft, they need somebody on the defensive line, and they are fortunate enough to have Christian Barmore handed to them. They will take him, and that is going to finish up our draft. Thank you to the Draft Network for this mock draft machine. And wow, it's wonderful. I think I did very good on this draft. Devonta Smith going to the Eagles is definitely questionable. You can see these two switch places. Trey Lance, I think, is overhyped, but he's a good quarterback overall. Patriots, I think this could be the next Tom Brady. Mac Jones played backup for most of his career in college. Of course, he didn't get drafted in the 6th round, but still, he shows lots of similarities to Tom Brady as well. So we'll see if Bill Belichick can coach him up. Najee Harris to the Steelers might not happen. We could see Jalen Mayfield going there. Also, Liam Eichenberg. I love him as a player. I would definitely celebrate if he came to the Steelers. And Zaven Collins to the Chiefs. I think the Sports Experience is going to be happy about this pick. He's a wonderful player. Chiefs are going to get a great player later in the draft than I thought he might go. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.